Usually what I do is I sort of run through the application, give you kind of an overview globally of each of the tabs, and then I've got a good hour or so, and we can certainly then spend some time answering any questions you might have, okay?
Super.
All right, so generally each user will have login credentials and various levels of access to the application. So when you log in, depending on where you last logged in, but generally the home screen will open. And there's a couple things on here that are important. One, you can search for clients or patients by multiple variables, okay? And typically all you need to do is start typing and it will begin to auto-populate with the client or the patient, all right? Another nice feature that we added was a price check button on here. So you generally start typing, select the product you want to price for, and it will come up. That's really helpful if you have front desk staff or you want to look up a price really quickly for a client. In the center here's our message board, and this allows you to communicate through the application. And you can communicate to individual members, or you can communicate to everyone. These messages can be viewed. You can view all of them. You can view your own. You can also view them by whether they've been resolved or not resolved. Okay?
Right.
Down here on the right, you'll have a list of today's appointments. These are all hot links, so you can jump to that appointment and see what it's for. There's a little mini calendar here, and you also have the ability to create a new client, schedule an appointment, or jump right to a transaction. Something new that we added is this quick appointment button. In the earlier iterations of the application, to schedule an appointment, you kind of needed all of the client and patient information. And now you have the ability to book appointment with just 4 variables, and then the system will remind you each time you log into that or go to look at that client that you need to complete the information, all right? But it allows you to make an appointment very quickly and easily. One thing I will tell you is that if you make a transaction for that client and you haven't completed that information, the system doesn't like that. So you want to make sure at some point you get name, address, phone number, all the different variables in there, okay?
Okay, great.
Let's jump into clients and patients, and we'll pull up one that we have, my mom. Generally, throughout the application, most of these buttons are hot links, so you can jump to them, okay? Over here is a little notification that if that button were gray, that would mean the client has been offered Pet Portal access. And when the paw print is green, that means they have activated it. So that means a client can log into their medical record, see their reminders, see their soaps, see their lab work. The one thing we don't let them do is access the communication part of the application, just in case they're a troublesome client and maybe you don't want them to see that. Clients can also make appointment requests through the Pet Portal, and those are requests, so it does not integrate with the scheduler, but basically if they make an appointment request, whatever email you've set up will get that notification, and then you can call them back and finalize the appointment. Okay?
Oh, wow.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, that looks like something clients would really like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I can jump into at some point what the client view of the Pet Portal looks like. They can also print their own vaccine certificates from there. So they can log in, select the vaccines they want on the certificate. If you put your digital signature in there, they can go ahead and print their vaccine certificates and download their lab work, and they don't have to bother you. That's especially helpful if they go to if they go for a referral, because they're going to have access to all that information.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
All right, so this is sort of the client demographics field. One thing that's, I think, super important, well, a couple things. Number one, as it stands now, and this is going to change shortly, but every client needs an email address. Now, in our next deployment, there's going to be a little button here that says email address not provided. So that will go away a little bit. But for now, if a client doesn't have an email address, what I'm recommending you do is just, for example, put in alicia.bregman@noemail.com, okay? Just so that the system recognizes you've entered an email address. It is important that the mobile phone number be put in this box because hopefully relatively soon we're going to be having text reminding functionality built in here as well. This area right here is where you give clients pet portal access. And so if you tick the box and hit save, they will receive an email with a password token. They click the link, set up a password, and use their email address as their username. For security reasons, they have to activate that within 24 hours. So it's important to tell them, hey, look for this email, check your spam folder. If they pass that expiration date, you can always resend the invitation, okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Over here, we have outstanding balance, and you can run reports that show you which invoices are open. And then we recently added a transaction report, which just allows you to pull up everything that client has ever had done for all of their pets with a running balance, okay?
That's great.
And these invoice numbers you can link to, they're hot links, so if you click this, it'll take you to that invoice. Now, most of my veterinarians take payment at the time of service, but if you're mobile or you do billing, the way that we've set up our outstanding balance is when clients make payments, those payments are applied to the oldest invoices, okay? Now, you can always go back into a previous invoice and enter the payment by hand, which is what I recommend. But just so you know, if you're just putting a payment in, it gets applied to and clears oldest invoices first. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
You do have the ability to print a client mailing label. Dr. Wheel and I were talking before, we support the Dymo 450 label printer. We've got a video that shows you how to set that up and which label size to use. You can
Does that do pharmacy labels too then?
Yes, yeah, all of our labels, X-ray, patient, prescription, all print on the Dymo label. It's a 30326 label. That's the size. And I'll show you prescriptions when we jump into the transaction section.
Super.
You can put notes in here, you know, the basic stuff, all right? Let us go to the patient record. So this is patient demographics here. You'll note here that it says click here to select a photo. And what do we got here? We'll just put this one in for now. So you can upload photos of pets here. And what's kind of neat is if you're running on your mobile device, your iPhone, your iPad, you can take a photo. If you click that button on the device, it'll ask you to either go to the camera or go to your photo library. And you can select whatever photo you want and upload it. And you can also, if your system gets a little funky, you can rotate those, okay? And you just want to
You just put one in?
Say that again?
Just one. Will it save only one photo there, or can you put multiple, like for Coggins?
That's in a different section. This is just for pictures of the pet.
Okay, just for ID.
Yep. So when we go to documents and images, I'll show you where to put all that other important stuff.
Okay.
Rabies tag numbers can be put in here, microchip numbers. I think it's important not to use spaces or dashes unless you're going to use them consistently, okay? Because the search features are going to be specific for what you type in. So if we enter a rabies tag number, it's just the number. If we enter a microchip number, there's no dashes or stars. You just need to maintain consistency there, okay?
Okay.
You can print spay-neuter certificates from here, okay? You can also directly email those to the client, okay? And that's all done through our server. So if you get a phone call from the client that says, hey, I didn't get my certificate, tell them to check their spam folder because that's probably where it went.
Okay. If they decide to reply to that email, will it go to the one that we have registered with the software, or will it go to your general?
Excellent question, and what takes up a good portion of my days very often. Within our email, there is a giant blue link that says to the client, if you wish to communicate directly with your veterinarian, click this link.
Okay.
And it will open their email browser with your email address in there. And then they can email you. For those who do not, I personally reply to them as to how to do that.
Oh, no.
Oh man.
Well,
Feels
that'd
sorry
be
for you.
great to fix that glitch.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, that glitch is significantly less aggravating than trying to set up individual email servers for every user, because then you're getting into different email clients, POP servers, SMTP servers. So it actually works pretty well, and since we added that link ability, that's cut down on it dramatically. Okay? You can print or email microchip certificates here. We also have a chart label that comes up with the pet and client information and a free-form text field. Okay, and again, those can be printed on the Dymo label printer. X-ray label, if you want. We started this 7 years ago, and lots of folks still processed and didn't have all digital, so that was kind of important. That's less important now. And then your comment field, and this is where you can put comments in about the patient, existing disease, and really what that does is it shows up very quickly. Let me just show you diabetes. So if we put those comments in, and then we go back to client and patient, those will show up right there. So that's kind of a quick heads up as to what's going on with the patient, okay?
Wonderful.
When you're doing birth dates, you got to make sure you click the date in the calendar or it won't save, okay? Let's go to documents and images. So this is our documents and images section. It will pre-populate with about 7 or 8 different folders. You do have the ability to add any folder you want. And then you can upload documents and images here. The documents and images that work best are JPEGs and PDF files, okay? Word documents, depending on your browser, if you upload them, you will have to open Word to read them. So that's why I like PDFs here, okay? And there are 3 different ways to put a document in here. One, you can select File and Upload, okay? You can select File, and this is really nice. Click, hold down the Shift key, click again, and upload 10, okay? And they upload pretty quickly. You can, and this is a feature that I really like. My desktop is really messy, so excuse me, but, oh, wait a minute. We have a drag and drop feature here. So for example, you can drag this file from your desktop and drop it in. And that's really nice for uploading lab results, okay? And then finally, if you are on your mobile device, when you click Select File, you'll be presented with the option of opening the camera or uploading from your photo file. So if you are taking clinical images, you can directly upload them into, for example, the clinical images folder. If you, for example, in our office, we use in-house SNAP heartworm tests. So we'll take a picture of the negative test and upload that in here, okay?
Oh, good idea.
Yep.
Clever.
Lab results, let me just see. Here's probably a picture, or maybe not. Okay, so we just upload these PDFs when they come to our fax line, and they come as PDF files already, so that makes it easy. Images can be uploaded. I mean, pretty much anything you want can be uploaded in here, all right? Now, there is... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I have a question about the images that you upload.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did for Dr. Diaz is I went into documents, images, and then previous medical records.
Yep.
And that's where I took pictures of his records and uploaded them on there.
Yeah, that's...
But they don't seem to go in alphabetical order once they're uploaded.
So if you look right here, you see this little arrow?
Uh-huh.
If you click that, you can sort alphabetically, and you can sort by date.
Oh, okay. That works.
And I'll give you a little sneak peek. You just see if I can. This is our, so one of my hospitals, we run a beta account where we test everything before we release it in a live environment. I don't know if I have any here, but what we're going to have soon is little thumbnails. So, for example, you see a little thumbnail here?
Oh, yeah, that's great.
So if you have x-rays in here, basically you'll see a little thumbnail of the x-ray or the ultrasound image. I can't think of a patient I've x-rayed recently. I apologize, but let me, yeah, I got one. Hold on, Rocky.
We can't search for abnormals or particular tests then, and with those being stored as images like that, right?
Not yet, but we are doing an RFP for a major veterinary university, and that's one of the things they're requesting. So likely you will be able to at some point. Here's a little thumbnail. See it?
Oh, that's a nice feature.
Yeah. Okay, let me go back out of here. You can move files. So, for example, you can tick all of these. Let's say you didn't put them where you wanted, and you can go move to and move them to ultrasound, and then that keeps things clean and organized. Okay?
Great.
Now, for those of you who use the Antech laboratory, we are well into an integration with Antech that will allow you to create requisitions, and we'll have those results automatically populate back to that patient's folder.
Nice.
That's a lot of work, but it's coming. The medical history tab. You do have the ability to put in master problems, okay? And a couple of years ago, we grabbed the AHA master problem list, and really all you need to do is start typing. And
okay, but do you have equine problems in there too then?
Give me one.
PPID, laminitis, something like that.
No, but we can add those, and what you also have the ability to do is select other and just type it in.
Okay, but then we have to have consistency to search those. Can we search those and
Not
pull up
now,
the list of all our patients?
Nobody's ever asked me for that in 7 years, so no, but I mean,
really?
that's not a big deal. I mean, we can create a report for that pretty easily. So if that's something you want, that is easy. Those things are easy to do.
Okay.
Basically, you'd create a report where you could put in a problem. It would actually pull from your existing list and then dump out the client and the patient associated with that. So if that's something you really need,
Okay.
Cornell wants, oops, I didn't say that. The university wants that. I did not mean to
Yeah.
say that. And anyway, so that's easy to do. All right.
That's why I think that way. It's my alma mater.
All right, there you go.
These can be edited. They can be tagged resolved. Allergies currently are all free-form text. So you would just add in whatever the allergy was. Doesn't matter. Okay. One thing that's nice is anytime you transact a prescription product and write a prescription label, those items will be listed here. And you will have the ability to open up the prescription label. This one wasn't filled out, but that's because I was probably doing a demo. So you have a record of those, okay?
Would you be able to show us how to do that?
I will, but you gotta wait.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, we'll get to that, all right? Vaccinations. Generally, once you set up your vaccines in the inventory procedures and vaccines section, anytime you transact out a vaccine, it will automatically create a reminder, and it will be listed here. This is also where you would print your vaccine certificates. Okay. This is also where you would email your vaccine certificates. Okay. And this is also where if you have a client that comes in from a previous veterinarian that's already been vaccinated, this is where you would add those to generate those reminders. Okay.
Great.
And it's a fairly simple process. There's another way to do this that's a little sneakier, but, you know, and then, you know, ABC Animal Hospital. Okay.
Super.
We have set it up so that, for example, if you gave this a little bit early, let's say, you know, you can see it updated, right? So if you give another vaccine on top of this one, let's say they do their annual 3 weeks early, it will update and cancel that previous one, so they won't get double reminded.
Okay, great.
Okay. And then you have the ability to edit these or delete them. You also have the ability to inactivate ones that you've added via transactions.
If the animal dies, does it automatically stop the reminders too if we've marked in there that the animal's deceased?
Yes, it does.
Great.
And there's 3 different ways there's a couple different ways to catch those. I'll go over those in a second. We do have infinite scroll in here, so down here on the bottom where it says show more results, if there are more than 10, you can just click that and they'll all be listed. And then we have a services tab that lists basically everything that pet has ever had done. Okay?
Great.
We'll jump to the soap form real quick. Soaps are where you do your medical records, okay? They're listed chronologically. They list the weights here. Anytime you update the weight in a soap form, it will update the weight in the client info screen, okay? All of our forms are pretty similar. If you hit add soap, it pre-populates with practice, client, and patient demographics. You put in your weight. There's a drop-down list of some common problems that we can always add to. There's always another field. History. What's nice on mobile devices, or if you have Dragon Veterinary or any of those talk-to-text problems or software applications, anywhere that there's a text field, you can simply talk, and it will populate the box. Siri works pretty well. Subjective findings, TPR, body condition score, and then a list of body systems. You can, for example, put in not examined, fractious, whatever you want, feral. Okay. Some basic diagnostics are listed here. Your assessment of the patient, treatment and recommendations, the doctor, and then a signature box. Okay? Oh, what did I forget? Forgot something. You got to have a problem. It won't let you do it without a problem, which is good.
Oh, that's good.
Now, one other feature we added is autosave. All right? So let's say you're writing a soap, your receptionist comes up. I'll show you. Add soap. You have put in your problem of diarrhea. Hey doc, Mr. So-and-so wants to come in on the 5th, and without thinking, you don't hit save and you go to scheduling, okay? Generally, if you go back to that soap, and this better work or I'm going to kill some development guys. It saved it for you, okay?
Okay, good.
Right.
Now, if you didn't put in a problem, it'll say form uncompleted, okay? Soaps will stay open for 24 hours, and that means you can edit them for 24 hours. After 24 hours, only the account owner, which would be you guys, can come in and reopen those soaps, okay? And if you reopen one, it will track the date that it was modified. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Soaps can be printed. Multiple soaps can be printed. Soaps can be emailed. Multiple soaps can be emailed. Okay?
When it saves the new updated date, does it let you know the day that you started the soap as well? Like the day that you actually saw the patient? Say you updated.
So
just create and modify. Modify would be the new date then.
yes, correct.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
You shouldn't have a lot of those, right? For legal reasons.
Yeah, no, I know. But I'm just saying, if say a weird accident happens.
If I'm really busy and I forget it happens, I forget for 3 or 4 days to write a soap, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll go down here and I'll put 12.1.17. And then I'm going to hit just to show you. So it's got the date in the soap here, and this is the date it was created.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Client communication, pretty straightforward. Again, all the client, patient, and practice info is pre-populated. We've got a list of common reasons to call clients. We've got a method of communication, what the communication was, who communicated, and a signature box. Okay?
Is there any way to track text communication with clients? And in mobile equine, that's becoming more and more popular and very hard to document.
So if I were doing that, if I were doing that on my iPhone, there's a couple of ways to do that. One, I would simply, you could take screenshots of your text messages and upload those in the documents and images section. That'd be the quickest and easiest way. You could, for example, press and hold one of the text messages, and then it allows you to select multiple. You can copy those and email them to yourself and then upload them. We are exploring text as a way of communication within the application.
Okay.
But probably the easiest way is to either, copy them on your iPhone and email them to yourself and upload them, or just take screenshots. I didn't realize that was, well, I wouldn't want that. I guess it's quick and easier than email, but that's how I would do that. Okay?
Super.
You can email these. You can print these. We've got a bunch of forms in here, so I'll show you one of them just for expediency. This is our ultrasound form, basically presenting complaint, any SEDS that you use, regions that were examined, other regions that were examined, whether aspirates were done, guided biopsies, assessment, etc. We've got a surgery form. Again, we put in some common drugs that would be used. Okay. We've got some common procedures. Again, there's always another field. Local anesthetics, pain management, induction drugs, maintenance anesthesia. I mean, these are, I basically don't have the time. For me, it's easier to type them up in my treatment and recommendation section of my soap form. But a lot of people like these, various suture materials, various sizes. We've got a radiology form. We have a health certificate. We have an estimate form. You don't really need that anymore. When I go to transactions, I'll show you that, okay?
Does the health certificate tie in with with accredited type things for interstate travel, or is that for another purpose?
Yeah, this would just be for a general in-country health certificate, okay? It's just kind of a basic form. You put in your rabies vaccine date, the lot number, the manufacturer, that you've examined the pet. Generally, when we're doing these, I wonder if I could put a USDA 7001 in here. I'll have to look into that. But generally, what we'll do is we'll complete the either the USDA 7001, print it and scan it and put it in, or upload it and put it in. I don't know if those are copyrighted or not. I have to look into that.
Okay, so it isn't right now set up as one for that purpose.
No, it's not. I bet I could do that, though. I'm going to write that.
What other purpose do people use health certificates for?
So if you're flying on JetBlue and you need a health certificate for JetBlue for your dog, here you go. This is enough.
They don't want a USDA form for that?
No, they don't seem to care. Airlines.
Doesn't the client need that? Like technically, under the law, the client needs that, right?
I do not believe so. Any health certificate that you generate, whether it's your own or the USDA one, is fine. I mean, I've done hundreds of these.
So are you submitting this form to the USDA then when the dog's
No, that's different. So.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you are doing, for example, international travel, and this is mainly small animal. If you're doing international travel, that's a whole different ballgame. Those are.
Right.
Those forms are down, there's one for each country. The USDA.
Right.
Yeah, that's totally different. For those, we fill them out, scan them, upload them, but then those documents have to go to USDA to be countersigned and sent back to the owner.
Right, but we ship horses a lot, and those all have to go to USDA too. And I guess I thought dogs and cats did, but I don't.
No. For international travel they do, but not for travel within the contiguous United States.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Sorry to take you.
No, it's all right. We do have a euthanasia form, and when you create one of these, wait a minute, what did I do? I hit the wrong one. Where'd it go? Euthanasia. Here we go. And you save it, and there's variables in here that are filled out. Once you save this, and I'm not going to waste time putting all the information in, but when you create and save one of these, it will tag the animal deceased, okay?
Okay, nice.
We've got an anesthesia form in here as well. It's a little, basic anesthesia release. Again, you put in the procedure. You can read this and use this or use your own. That's up to you. That's pretty much all the forms. Let me go back to Jethro. So if a client calls and says, hey, Jethro passed away actually Jethro, since I did complete the form, you'll see he's tagged deceased, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And when you look at his name up here, it's gray and it says deceased.
Good.
Now, if you made a mistake, well, he's not really dead. You can just go back and delete this. Nope, that's new. And now when you reload Jethro, he's untagged deceased, okay? And you can always tick this box and hit save to make a patient deceased as well, all right? Scheduling. This is our scheduler. To be in the schedule, you need to be a doctor. So you can see over here, we've created doctors called boarding appointment, surgery appointment, vet tech appointment. You can assign different colors to those. You can view individual doctors, okay? If you want to see everybody, you just hit complete view. This is the month view. All of these are hot linked. When you use your mouse and hover over the appointment, it will list the client, the patient, the species, and then there's a comment box where you can put in why they're coming in, okay? We have a weekly view. We have a day view. And we have the agenda view, which I like, which just shows you all of your upcoming appointments, okay?
Are there ways to block out times so that someone scheduling knows that a particular doctor is or is not available at various days and times?
Yeah, so the way to do that, I'll show you. Let me go to the scheduler. Let's go to create an appointment. So to do that, basically, you would create a client called, I don't know if we have one in here or not. Let's see. You can simply create a client called block time, okay? And then you would select that doctor and select your date and time, and by using the appointment length, you block out that time, and then the scheduler will not allow you to block or not allow you to book, okay?
Okay.
You could create a doctor name, blocked. There's different ways to do that within the system, okay? If we're going to create an appointment, we select the client. We select the patient. There are hot links here. We select the date of the appointment, the start time, how long the appointment's going to be, and then the doctor.
So how does the person making this appointment right now know that you're available that day and time to see that patient?
They know our appointment blocks and when we're available. They know our schedule.
Okay, so they had to go to the other page on the calendar to see whether you already had a 10 o'clock appointment that day, and then over to this one to set that up for this client?
So they can do a couple of things. One, they can click right here, okay? And if they click here, it will give you this screen.
Okay.
If you are in, for example, the day view.
Yeah, okay.
And you click here.
Click on the empty block. Okay.
It actually puts the time in for you.
Fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, so, and the system will not allow you to double book.
Great.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you already got a 10:15 scheduled, it will not let you book another one. For you, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Little hot link buttons here. You can jump to the individual day. Here's some block time, okay? We have a same-day sick doctor that allows us to hold that time. Month view. You can search for appointments. You can filter by client name, and you can just type. You filter by patient. The one thing I wanted to show you was this. We do have the ability to pre-populate appointments with service items. So if you know that a client, you're going to do a farm call, you're going to do a rabies vaccine and a Coggins test, you can pre-populate those ahead of time.
And wow. So they're invoiced already? Is that
well, so,
what you're doing?
Yeah, let's just do it real quick. Basically, what it does is when you do that and save the appointment, there'll be a button here that says Create Invoice. And so when you get there, you tap that button and it automatically opens a transaction screen.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Inventory and procedures. So we have 4 categories up here. We have inventory, we have procedures, we have vaccines, and we have code kits. Okay. The system comes pre-populated with a bunch of folders here. You can delete those, you can add to those, you can set this up any way you want. Let's just look at a basic inventory item. We'll take a look at Brevecto. So you have a category. The system automatically assigns an item number. You can use your own. Item name, description, unit name. You can pre-populate your prescription labels. You can put in the manufacturer. We track minimum quantities, maximum quantities, and current quantities. I'm not a big inventory guy, so you know, that's there, but that's my least favorite part of practice, but you can do that. Your price, unit cost, previous unit cost, on order, back order, whether you charge sales tax, minimum dispensing fee, a lot number if you want to track that. And then if you're no longer using an item, you can tag it inactive. Then it will not show up when you're searching for items in the transaction screen, okay? We have various reminder types. If it doesn't match any of these, you can simply choose other or none. And then a host of reminder cycles from 1 day to 3 years. Okay?
Cool.
Procedures are set up pretty similarly. Again, the only one that you cannot delete is the euthanasia and cremation category, because anything that you put in here, when you transact it, that will tag the patient deceased for you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, you know, these are all fairly similar. Procedure number, procedure name, description, whether there's a reminder associated, whether there's a reminder cycle, and whether it's a spay-neuter code. So for small animal practitioners or equine practitioners, if you tag an item spay-neuter, when you transact that item, it will change the sex of that patient from male to male neutered or from female to female spayed. Okay? Now the next one's important. And this is your vaccine section, okay? This will come pre-populated with some vaccines, all right? But for example, let's take a look at canine distemper parvo. A couple things here. Again, item number, you can choose that or it'll pre-populate. Item name, description. And then, for example, if you want the reminder to say something in particular, like, in this instance, your pet is due for its annual distemper parvo vaccine, you can type that in here, okay?
Oh, neat.
Maximum, minimum quantities, price, unit cost, reminder type, reminder cycle, and category. Okay? You want to make sure that these are set up before you transact them so that the reminders are properly generated. And really, anytime you're giving a vaccine, the lot number should be there. So make sure that box is ticked. I believe it's ticked by default in the vaccine section.
Great.
Let's see. Yeah, it is. Okay, good. Any questions there?
Not yet.
Okay. We also have code kits built in, okay? So for example, you can create a code kit for a feline spay and put in 10 or 12 or 5 or 16 different items so that when you type in the transaction feline spay 6 months and click enter, it will pre-populate with all 10 of those items.
Great. So the owners see all those lines.
Yes, and it saves you a tremendous amount of time entering them, and it saves your staff. You know, staff can, you know, you can go to the homepage. Let me just feline spay. You can't. You see how that's green?
Mm-hmm.
Code kits show up as green, and then all the items are listed, and then the cost. Okay.
And can you take like one item out? So if this cat was allergic to clavamox, you could take that out.
When you make the transaction, you can delete that item and add items.
Super.
Yes.
Super.
This is our transaction screen. You can search invoices by client, patient, medicine, or invoice number. You can put in date ranges, okay? You can create estimates, and they will save, and they can be given to the client. Let's do a transaction. So it's going to pre-populate again with client and patient, or with the hospital information. We're going to select a doctor, and we're going to select a patient. If you are doing a farm call and you're looking at 3 horses and all 3 of them are getting an exam, a rabies vaccine, and a Coggins test, by holding down the shift key, you can select all 3 and enter items for all 3 patients. Okay?
And you can do that even if they have separate owners?
No.
Okay.
You cannot.
Okay. So if I have 60 horses with 60 owners all getting the same thing, I have to generate 60 individual invoices?
You do, yes.
Okay.
That would be a good day.
That's any day in spring.
Wow. Yeah. Yes, that you would have to do them individually.
Okay.
I don't know how you would, I would have to talk to the dev guys. That would be challenging to develop.
It's been done. HVMS does that, but
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of
Okay.
that software. But just so you have a reference point
Yeah.
if you were interested in looking at how somebody does it.
I would have to, let me talk to my guys. That's interesting. Because I do have a guy that's, yeah, but he does bovine work. I imagine it's farm-based. Okay,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, one owner.
Yeah. Office exam. We're going to just type and select from the list. You can change the price anytime you want and hit the plus key. We're going to dispense Clavamox. We're going to do a canine rabies vaccine. When you select an item that has lot numbers assigned, you simply, for health certificates, it's generally the first 3 letters of the manufacturer and then the lot number, and you'll see that populates here, okay? You'll also see when I hover over that, it turns green, and you can edit that, okay?
Right.
If you are doing a 60 animal farm call with 60 different owners and you want to come back later and enter those transactions, the created date is editable, okay? So you can put in December 1st. You need to do that now before you save it, okay? When you put this date in here, everything will be assigned to that date. So for example, this rabies vaccine will show up as having been done on December 1st, okay?
Right.
The blue little button here allows you to create a prescription label. It will pre-populate with this information. Generally, I just go 4 months out. You have the option of saving that or the option of printing it. If you print it, we'll save. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then it tells you to close the window. You can go back and change this if you need to. Okay? Let's just show you what that looks like. Again, that's going to be green. Here they are, the normal ones. And there you see the code kit in green, yes?
Okay. Yeah.
When you do a code kit, it allows you to put the lot number in and hit save. You also have the ability to retype those prescription instructions. So you see how all those items populated? The total for today, you select a payment mode, the date of payment, and the amount. And hit plus. Okay? If the client has an outstanding balance, you can pull that up If you are hospitalizing the patient and you want to keep this invoice open for a couple of days, you tick the hospitalized button.
Is there a way to keep credit cards on file for
No.
clients that aren't present?
No.
No.
That is that relates to PCI compliance.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to, and that's up to you, in the client section in the notes field, you can put in whatever you want.
Ooh, that sounds risky. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. Just too much risk associated with that, because I believe after the last ruling, if the credit card is stolen and it's stolen from you as the vendor, I think you're responsible.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So credit card companies own the government. So, a couple things here. You can save this. You can save and print it. And when you save and print it, a copy of this invoice will be dropped into the invoice folder in documents and images. Okay? You also can save and email it by clicking this little button right here. Okay? Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, because we've ticked this animal as hospitalized, this will show up in the active and open transactions, okay? Creating an estimate is a similar process. It will simply, let me just do this real quick. You'll notice it says save, save and print, or convert to invoice, right? Let me just, doctor. So if we save this, it now shows up down here, okay? And then if we hit edit and the client decides to go ahead, we simply hit convert to invoice, okay?
Oh, nice.
There is also a box here that the client can sign on your iPad or your mobile device that they're willing to be responsible for these charges. Okay?
Great.
Reports. There's a bunch of them. Outstanding balance, deleted transactions, income analysis. There's just a host of these in here. They're all dumped out as Excel/CSV files. You can search for appointments. Under the other section, you can do exportable email lists. So we have a social media marketing company that works with us, so we can send them this email list to upload into Constant Contacts. You can do birthday cards if you want. We do track sales tax. I'll show you that in a minute. You can track how much individual clients have spent. You can run a report for individual service items. Okay, within date ranges. Apparently, I forgot about that. We do have the ability to hospitalize and track hospitalized and boarding patients. And then, so for example, if we go to Jethro and we put in hospital check-in and hit plus and hit save, Jethro's now in red, okay? So you would know that he is hospitalized. Same for boarding. Back to reports. I'm not going to waste a lot of time going through this, guys. I mean, certainly we can set up another webinar and go through the report section, but they all come out as Excel or CSV files. They can be sorted, chopped up, rearranged any way you want, okay?
Okay.
Let's jump to settings real quick. Whoever signs up for the account owns the account. Right here is where you should put in your email address that you want appointment requests to come to, okay? You can put a picture in, you can select a color. We do have the ability for only admins to change prices. Right here is where you put in your signature to appear on vaccine certificates, microchip certificates, etc. That's about all you need for there. You can edit individual members. You can add members. Member type is kind of important, all right? If you are an admin, you have access to pretty much everything in the software. Reports, ability to delete or inactivate items from your inventory procedures or vaccines, ability to change prices, delete transactions, etc. If you are just a regular DVM or a staff, your access is limited, okay? You can also tick this box if you want this doctor to receive appointment request notifications via email, all right? Practice info. This is where you put in your practice particulars. Right here, practice email. Remember we talked about that link within the body of emails that clients receive?
Mm-hmm.
This is where you put the email addresses or address that you want them to reply to, okay? If you have sales tax for individual items, we have two categories here. You can put in your percent rate. The invoice will automatically calculate that, okay?
Good.
You can upload your logo here as well. You can obviously add members, etc. Okay, that's what I got. Questions?
Can you remind me again, say you have an upcoming appointment the next day and you already, remember that you mentioned you can add on, say if you know they're going to have a vaccine, you can add a transaction to that beforehand. Can you remind me how you do that?
So you go to schedule appointment, select a date and a time and a length, select a doctor, and then in the service item box,
Okay, perfect.
and we're updating this plugin a little bit so it's not quite so hinky. And then you hit save.
Really handy.
Perfect.
That looks really handy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oops.
Now when you go back to that appointment, you can create the invoice, okay?
Yeah, that's super. Is it possible to have more than one pricing structure? So, for example, that farm where I'm doing 60 sets of vaccines all at once, if I want to give them a different price than the average owner who just has one horse, is there easy ways to do that, or do I need to have each service put in there in two different ways to do that?
So, give me a minute. Generally, if you want to give someone a discount, I recommend you use the miscellaneous item bar, okay?
Okay.
And so we'll call it a multi-horse discount. And then in the amount section, you put in a minus sign and $100. And then you'll see that that's a negative, okay?
Okay.
And then that lowers the balance.
Okay.
Now, if you have clients that are exempt from sales tax, you can, I don't know if you have to charge sales tax or not, but
On a few things.
you know, you can exempt them from tax, all right? Here,
Oh, okay. So for not-for-profits.
right,
Yeah. Okay.
okay? And that's global.
Is there
And if
a
you have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say if I wanted to give that not-for-profit or a farrier who makes lots of referrals and across the board 10% discount or something, is there a place for that, or we do that miscellaneous fee each invoice?
I like the idea. Right now, it's a miscellaneous fee.
Okay.
But certainly if that, you know, we're pretty flexible as to what we can develop.
Okay.
I don't imagine it'd be very hard to put in here something like standard discount or what have you. Where you run into a little bit of trouble with that is, for example, at one of our locations, we have offices around the Disney area, so Disney clients get a discount, or Disney employees, but they only get it on services. They don't get it on product.
Right.
So that's where the challenge comes in with something like that.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because, otherwise you're talking about in the back end having to set up these items, multiple. It's just not something we've had a lot of requests for to develop.
Yeah, it would get complicated. So how do you handle that for those Disney people then? Your office staff is figuring that out on those invoices?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And then they just put in whether it's a Disney employee discount or a celebration discount, and they figure it out.
Okay.
Now, when you have a client that has multiple patients, and if you see multiple patients at the same day with different services, I'm assuming you can do that under the transaction.
Mm-hmm. Let me show you.
But it all goes on the same invoice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's a good example. So Shannon Bella's got a bunch of pets, right?
Yeah.
So let's say she brings in 3 of them. See how I've highlighted all 3?
Mm-hmm.
And they all come in for an office exam. Now all 3 have been given an office exam.
Okay.
Okay? If they all get a rabies vaccine, again, these lot numbers can be adjusted. Let's say it's a new box or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say Basil gets some blood work. It doesn't matter what. All right, now that's just assigned to Basil.
Okay, great.
Okay, in our previous iteration, you had to do an invoice for each patient, and that sucked up a lot of time. So now we have multi-pet invoicing.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful.
It's important to remember that if you've been entering items for all 3 pets, and then you want to enter an item for Basil, that you go back up here and make sure that only his patient number shows.
Right.
Okay? I'm just going to delete this. We don't need it. Now, anytime you delete it, it pulls anything that would have been saved in medical history, prescriptions, vaccines, whatever, they all get pulled out, okay?
Okay.
Good.
Other questions?
Let me see. The email reminders for appointments, you mentioned that it was on the day of. Can you set that up to be a few days?
Yeah, it's actually 2 days before, and vaccine reminders, stuff like that, are a week before.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think this was outlined on the website that this is pretty stable across a pretty wide range of devices. So like iPad and various types of laptops, it runs pretty stably on those.
Yeah, I was talking earlier before you jumped in. Most of our testing and development is done in Google Chrome, all right? And certainly download on your iPad, obviously it's native to Android devices. The system runs also very well in Safari, which is native to those mobile devices.
Okay.
The only challenge is prescription labels, because nobody has developed a wireless AirPrint compatible label printer.
Dang.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Now you can print via AirPrint to a regular sheet of, I know this is not ideal, but just the way it is. For example, you could print your prescription label on a regular sheet of paper, cut it out and tape it to the bottle, hand it to the owner. But if you have a Surface Tab, by Microsoft. The Dymo label printer will work with that.
Okay.
And if you go to our YouTube page, and I've got to update these videos. This one is still a good one. Where is it? Bear with me. No, don't do that. I don't want to listen to my own voice. I hate it. Okay, so this is our YouTube page. There's a host of videos here. Here's a video on the Dymo label installation. Okay.
Great.
And it's about 3 minutes. It tells you how to set it up, and it works very nicely on the Microsoft Surface tab. Because that has a USB port and an operating system that will handle the Dymo label printer.
Okay.
So I've recorded this, and I will send you guys a link via Google Documents that you can download the video.
Okay, great.
Watch it again if you want. I think those are kind of the basics. The most important thing that I would tell you, if you're going to be doing vaccines and stuff and things that require reminders, to make sure you get in here and set up your vaccine categories. Do not, for vaccines that you want reminders for, do not set them up in inventory. Okay? We've created a separate category for that so that when you transact those items, they show up with the reminders in the pet's medical history. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Of course, this pet doesn't have any. Let me find somebody who let's try Sushi. Okay, so this is how they show up. This pet was vaccinated on the 6th of December. These are the vaccines the pet got. This is when they are due. If they come in early, as I said, if they come in November 30th, this will be canceled out, okay? It'll just say updated, all right? And if you want to print a vaccine certificate, you just do that, okay?
Right.
I know what I wanted to show you. This is a form we have coming out. We're getting into the process of creating these. This is a dentistry form, okay?
Ooh.
And what's nice is you can highlight the teeth that you're interested in. You can free-form type in extraction, stuff like that. I have to edit this because it's copyrighted and the veterinarian hasn't gotten back to me whether I could use it or not, so we're going to change this a little bit. But these are really nice. And then when you're all done, let me just ding this up a little more. And you fill this all out. You get a very nice form that you can present to the client with
Do you have
instructions.
an equine version of that?
No, but if you've got a really good PDF file with a horse's mouth in it, with the teeth lined up like this, I can create that.
Okay.
And I would like to. I don't know if there's a pictograph form of like a lameness exam or a hoof exam or something like that, but my guys can create any of these forms. And what's cool is, for example, we're going to assume that Sushi's a cat. I don't know what Sushi is, but the dental form, let me just see. I should be able to tell by the dental form. It's assigned to the species, okay?
Okay.
This is the cat one. And then, actually, let me delete that because it's not really real. The other thing I would show you is that here's that tick box for email not provided, okay?
Mhm.
come out in our next iteration. But yeah, we can create, I can create pretty much any form you want.
Neat.
So this is all well, this is in testing now. And like I said, we will have an Antec integration. We're also trying, although it's challenging, to partner with a credit card company so that, for example, hold on one second. This is our development site. So we run 3 sites. We run a development site, we run a beta site, and then we run a live site. Basically, when you click this button and you have your credit card machine connected to the computer, you can take payment right through VetOfficeSuite.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in theory.
In theory.
In theory. The problem with integrations, so my development team out of Manhattan, they run the Girl Scout Cookies online ordering app. And so they're familiar with huge applications that process millions of dollars of transactions from thousands of Girl Scouts. Anytime you use a secondary software provider, we, meaning VetOfficeSuite, becomes sort of responsible for problems with their software. So, for example, if your payment processing isn't working, you're going to call me. We have to make sure that their API, that their connections all work, and that everything works before we release it. That's really where the testing with Antec is coming in, because what we envision is you're going to be able to, for example, you can create a procedure for a CBC Chem with Antec, assign the test code to that, and then when you do the transaction or under clients and patients, you can create those requisitions. And then when the results populate, they'll populate back directly to that patient record. But there's a lot of steps in that, right? You got to send the requisition. It's got to communicate with Antec. The sample has to be received. The results have to populate back. You have to make sure that if there are partial results, that they get replaced by the finals. That's what we're working on now.
If you were to get the account for that anonymous university, is their lab going to get integrated as well?
Is there what?
Their laboratory going to get integrated as well? Their diagnostic lab?
No, that's interesting. I mean, certainly it could be. I'm sure they're going to want it. We have to gently approach that. Generally, when you deal with a major institution, any development you do for them, they want to be proprietary. But once the code is written, it's written. And so,
yeah, but I mean, that just makes it easier for us to use their lab then, and that's a lab I use a lot.
Yeah. And so, the hard part with any integration is the first time. And certainly I envision once Antec is done, integrating with IDEX is not going to be a big problem either.
Sure. Okay.
But I don't really like IDEX, so that's why we picked Antec first.
Fair enough.
Other questions? We covered a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, this has been wonderful.
Good.
Yeah, you covered most of my questions before I had an opportunity to ask.
And thank you for, both being on, because this saves me at least an hour and a half. So that was great.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for letting me pull you in equine directions. That doesn't sound like it was your interest.
Well, actually it is. The issue is getting, so for example, I've got a vaccine clinic that uses the software. I've got a bovine practitioner that uses the software. I've got mobile specialists that use the software. What I need is a good, involved, and eager to improve the software equine veterinarian. And because I think that is an untapped, you guys are all mobile, right?
Yeah, typically.
Who wants to bring a laptop back home, connect it to a server, download the day's transactions. I mean, that's ridiculous. Who wants
That's
to
what most people have to do right now.
Right. So it's cloud-based. Your records are with you anywhere there's an internet connection. It works great over 4G, okay? If the farm has Wi-Fi, you can connect to that. I mean, there's really a lot of opportunities to simplify the life of a mobile practitioner.
Yeah.
And so
Neat.
if you can dig out a form that's relatively clean and crisp in a PDF file of a horse's mouth and what you would want on it, I'll have the guys develop it.
Okay. That's great. That's great. I assume that's not instant because, of course, that's never a reasonable demand. When it's something like that, what is a typical timeline that's reasonable for me to expect if I came up with a lameness form or a dental form or something like that?
4 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I think that's gives us an opportunity to develop it, put it on the development site, test it, give you credentials to the development site to play around with it, and then push it out to the live site.
Okay.
You know, it's a little, you try to do deployments with enough features to make it worthwhile, but not so many that, you know, everything crashes. Does that make sense? You know,
Yeah.
the Antec deployment will be a deployment by itself. Right now, if you have any interest, we manage our application on another application called Jira. And so I assume you can still see my screen.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we track all of our issues and development stuff. You know, this is our board.
Wow.
Over here is your wish list. This is our deployment pool. So, for example, we're going to be deploying the ability to transfer a patient's records from one client to another.
Oh, you don't have that now.
No, that's complicated, but they've done it. It's done. That's going to come out on the next deployment.
Okay.
Our dental form, the thumbnail images, the tick box. I mean, so this is stuff that's coming out. This is stuff that's on the live site. You know, so this is how we sort of run the development. And you can see it's a big process, right?
Yeah.
But typically, let me see. The dental form. Let me pull that up. Bear with me. You know, they really probably started working on this, I would say in October. And, you know, other than some edits, so there's no copyright infringement, you know, they got this out in pretty fast order, and it probably could have been released earlier, a month ago, other than that copyright problem. So they can turn it out pretty quick. And, you know, the other thing is if I'm developing it for you, you're going to be motivated and reasonable so that if you're using it and there's problems, we can address those. And we do have the ability to hotfix problems, meaning if you notice there's an issue, once we've deployed it, we're then able to fix that without having to wait for the next deployment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would love that. That would be cool.
Okay. Neat.
All right. So
Thank you very much for your time, and thank you, Dr. Will, for indulging with the equine diversion too.
Of course. I like exotics, so hopefully one day you guys can also incorporate other sorts of dental forms and stuff like that.
You send them to me, we'll develop them.
Cool.
All right.
Really.
Thank you. This has been great.
I don't know why, but I enjoy doing this. It's kind of different from my day-to-day life. And so, you know, this business is owned by veterinarians, and we want to make it better.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, your enthusiasm shows. Thank you very, very much
Yeah, my
for
pleasure.
this time.
And
yeah,
I'll get this webinar converted to a video file and send you guys a link.
Thank you.
All right.
Wonderful.
Have a great day.
You too.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I
There we go.